I would say it's a pleasure to meet you, but I've kind of met you. How long have we been doing this? 15, 35 years?
A long time.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for coming on Maintain. Sorry about the decor.
I love it.
Yeah, it's very, I feel like this is like an optimistic divorced dad's first look at his new life. It's like 2 chairs and an imaginary friend. In this case, would be you.
And one fresh start.
Your road, you and I always make jokes. We've done Tyrus and Timpf podcast together. We're sarcastic co-pilots on the Gutfeld show. We've always made fun of origin stories, right?
Yeah.
Give me the Kat Timpf origin story. People, now I know about the little girl who wanted to write novels about shipwrecks. Yeah.
Right. That's true. I mean, I got started. I always wanted to do something like this, but you don't know how you really get there, if you're going to make connections or anything like that. So I had a full scholarship to college, went to college. The plan was to go to Columbia Journalism School after I graduated. I was enrolled in everything. Then I realized I didn't have the money, and I didn't want to take out a loan because I thought I had to pay it back.
Who knew? So you didn't.
So I didn't go. And I stayed in LA. I was doing stand-up. I was waiting tables. I had some internships. Got a job in DC. And I just breezed past that. But those are some tough times.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't realize, because you're one of the things that when everyone asks me to describe you, like working with you, I'm like, Kat's tremendously strong. I always and they're like, I'm not talking weight room strong, but you have a strong sense of character, and you're not afraid. You're not a big confrontation person, but you're willing to go there if it's necessary.
Right.
And I always thought that was courageous. A lot of people won't risk offending the team. When I say that, like, to say Fox leans right a little bit is probably an accurate description, just scotch. And you're a libertarian unapologetically.
Yeah.
And you see a lot of people in entertainment would rather go too far one way than stay true to themselves. Has that always been you? Have you always been that look as a child, or were like, nope? That's
always been me. I mean, even the college that I went to is very conservative. I'm a libertarian. I'm always sticking to what my views are, what my values are. And it really can be tough, right? That is, something that I'm writing about in my next book, about how people, if you have a team, then you always know you have the team on your side. But if you don't have the team and all the other people, you're not on the team, they see you as you're this out-group person.
Right.
And that you're not with me, you're against me. And I think that that's something that's really, really harmful, because you really can't assume things about a person without being wrong.
No, and you take hits on both sides.
I do.
And then you take, I'm hits, like
I do.
Full guns blaring. I mean, and some of one lady, I think her name's Marge or Nellie, you need to chill out.
Yeah.
Like they and it's all personal.
Yeah.
And it's not personal for you. And I know myself, so that's why I don't engage much, because my engagement is, well, where you at then? Sign a waiver. You know what I'm saying? Like, come get me. And that doesn't work either, because lawsuits would suck for that. But we butt heads a lot sometimes when I see you get attacked online and you still try to make them understand your point. You're a lot better now, because it used to be, and it's rare, like 2.5 million people watch us every night. 6 people get on Twitter, and 6 is probably a big number.
Yeah.
And complain about you. Can't you just say, F them?
I know.
Or practice saying it?
I know. F them. I try to get better at it, but it's hard. I mean, I went through a lot of tough things to get to where I am, and it was a while before, and I, moved to New York, and after that I struggled, and I didn't have money, and I worked really hard, and eventually, I was on Red Eye, met Greg. That's kind of history with that. I was always writing the entire time. My writing is a huge part of why I am where I am. But what was motivating me is not just like, oh, I want to be on TV, or, oh, I want to write. I really think it's something greater than me, where I think that there's a huge risk to losing a lot of what, not to be so dramatic, but what makes this country so special, which is the ability to, live your life as an individual the way that you see fit and have the freedom to do that without the government interfering. And I think that there's a risk to that going away if we don't pay attention. And I think that a lot of this back and forth of you're on this team or this team or that team or that team, all people care about sometimes is the team.
Right. Yeah. More than themselves. You will yell at somebody you care about over somebody you don't even know.
Yeah.
And with politics, like you will literally scream about a politician to like, oh, we did a show, Will Kane show together. And we were talking about how you will cuss out old Uncle Pete.
Yes.
And tell him he's worthless, even though he went to every one of your Little League games.
Yes.
Because he votes Trump.
Yes, and I'm going to have this book.
Yeah, and we're
so
segueing
this is a
that.
major theme in my book is that politics makes you fight on behalf of people you do know, on behalf of people who don't even know you exist. And then speaking of the internet, right, it's like there's the trolls, but then there's also like the simps, right, which is just like every picture, like, oh, like you're so beautiful and sexy, like I love you, step on me, whatever, gross
Yeah, I get
stuff.
those too. It's weird. Yeah,
yes,
you've
course.
seen them from my elderly.
Yes,
face.
yes,
Silver
exactly,
foxes,
and mine,
yes.
yes. But then sometimes someone will kind of like make fun of the Sims and say, hope she sees this, bro, but I feel that way about some of the ways people talk about politicians.
Right. Yeah, 1,000%.
Where it's like, this candidate or this politician is not going to see this, and now you've just turned your family away from you over somebody that doesn't care about you at all beyond the vote.
Right. So because you kind of grow up together in a weird way when you're on the show. We've been doing Gutfeld for, 9? It was getting close.
In about 9 years.
About 9 years. And I've noticed a change. From who you, because you went from, and we all kind of were guilty of this, like you want to do well when you're on TV and you want the people to appreciate you and your work. But I noticed a change. You went from like needing approval to approving of yourself, to where like everything from hair color to like, I'm going to be Kat, and if you don't like it, kiss my ass.
Yeah, I stopped dyeing my hair, and I look back at these pictures, I'm like, I was so blonde.
Somebody posted one, they were like yelling at us about something, and I was like, at first I was like, who? Is that Dana?
Yeah.
I was like, no, it's you.
I did not need to be that blonde. I mean, part of it, honestly, it was like therapy, right? But also part of it, and this is so cringe, it's not popular to say this these days, but I'm in a great relationship.
Yeah, that does make a big difference.
Right? I'm in a supportive relationship with a wonderful man who supports me and accepts me and is he's on my team, and it's healthy. And then going back to when we were doing the podcast together, I'll never forget, and I do write about this a little bit actually in my book as well, about how afraid I was of that. I was so afraid of not having any contact. Because Tyrus and Timpf, so many stories of whatever
about tumultuous, horrible relationships we've been in, or you've been in, or every weed that you're trying to grow into a rose that you met, I noticed the change. And during the pandemic, like we were stuck during the pandemic with basically we were out doing podcasts. I think I hid in my truck and you did yours and the thing. And we had like a Cami salon. I'm sure you really want to, well, first of all, are we okay with talking about men in a positive light? We can do it. Of course you can. Right. Show. So yeah.
Supposed to be like,
no. But he would do, it was an inside joke that he trusted her to keep between them, Cami salon, because he would help her with her hair to get ready for TV. This is a husband. This is a man's man. He served our country.
Clipping my hair. Yes. He's an Army Ranger.
Yeah, Army Ranger. He jumped out of helicopters and shot shit up and kept it safe. And
he would clip my hair.
Would do your hair.
Pandemic. Yeah.
And you guys even had a song. And again, I don't want to do it to him, but like it was catchy.
Cami Salon was catchy. Let's go down
and
to
her
Cami
poor
Salon,
husband was
we have lots of fun at Cami Salon, and we all get along at Cami Salon. So come down to Cami Salon.
And to say that I was supportive would be hilarious. I would be like, Cam, what are we doing? And he would just give me the husband look of.
He's secure in himself.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Which is what I always
he's also secure in the fact that you're the talented one. In terms of because what happens a lot in relationships, this is a crazy thing, is that you'll date somebody and they'll see that you're on TV and they think what you do is so easy.
Yeah.
That they're like, well, why can't I do it? When am I going to come on your show? When am I going to be this? I've never observed, he even dresses down to where there's no way that if something happened, like, oh, Tyrus pulled a hammy. Cam, let's not dress like that. And so he's never, ever there to like show out. You know what I'm saying? You could tell, like you'll see people who date in this or married and their other half shows up, G'd up to the max to hang out in the green room. You know what I'm saying? Because they're looking for that opportunity. You guys have never had that, but you such an extreme because most people get comfortable in torment, especially in entertainment, because usually you do your best when you're at your worst, because the safe place is when the light comes on. And you kind of, that was where your comedy came from, because most of your comedy is painful. It's funny laughing at it, but if you took the context out of it, you'd be like, wow, man, that's a horrible relationship. That was, but because you at the end go, everyone's like, oh yeah, we can laugh. But most people can't get out of that. And you got out of that. Like,
I was so worried about it.
Because it ate up a big part of who you were, was you're trying to work, worrying about what your other half is doing or not doing. And then, or worse, you're doing well. I think the toughest struggle, I think, was when you were, and we don't need to mention names, we're not making them famous, but I remember every time you would have success, it was scoffed at.
Yeah.
And there's like that, but that is a double-edged sword, because you're with someone who was in the similar field that you're
doing
in.
Comedy. And
and you're doing well and exploding, and they're not, and you could never be happy. Because it's hard for people to get out of that. Like, how were you able to just realize hey, this feels good? How did you even know what felt good anymore?
I didn't. And I do. I mean, in that relationship I've talked to you a lot about, I get into the gritty details of how awful it was in the new book, because it was just, I still have, some issues from that, where I didn't know what it was like to be treated well, or I would be expecting to be in trouble for doing a good job. Which is crazy. But with my husband, with Cam, it's like he's also willing to communicate with me about that stuff. I don't know. I just never knew how good a healthy relationship could be, because I was also worried a relationship in general. I was like, I'm a career woman and I want to do my career. And there's this misconception, I guess people argue, that you can't do both, but actually it made me better.
I noticed the biggest thing is that once you were happy with you were braver at work.
Yeah.
I think that was the biggest change in you. The most, anyone who's been around you, is you're not meek Kat anymore. No. Like, you would make a statement and be like, I'm sorry, did I offend you?
Yeah.
Off camera, like, I hope I didn't. Now you're like,
yeah.
Even at one point, probably one of the craziest things that has ever been said on Gutfeld. Number one is Kennedy slapping clams.
Yeah.
And number two is Kat Timpf on an all-male cast goes, listen, fellas, I got the biggest dick in this room.
I got the biggest dick in the room, yeah.
And and just stood there, and I'm just, who are you? But before you were like, not that you were afraid, because if someone talked about the Beatles or anything that has to do with Adam Sandler, gloves are off. Yeah. But the change and the confidence, the work, like, you're writing books. I had a good lead on you.
Yeah, you did.
I had a good lead. I went from 2 up to where, but once you wrote that first one and that first one was out, then it was like 2 weeks later, like, well, I'm halfway done with my other one. And I was like, wait a minute, what? No, you gotta space it out. Like, and you're already ready for possibly, this one was done in record time.
Yes.
How much easier? The first book was tough, right? But you said the second book I noticed the second book was easier once you get through it, but writing a book is not easy.
It's not easy.
Even though someone with your background and again, I would argue with you, why isn't your book out? Yeah. I would come up to you, and I never bullied you, but I'd be like, Kat, you're a journalist. Yeah. When are you going to write your book? When? And you're like, well, I don't know. I might piss somebody out. And then literally it was like, boom. And then the second one, the cover. Can we get a close up on this?
This is really cool.
I love this cover.
Some things but this is really cool. I'm covered in hate mail.
But you exposing, I didn't realize this, but breaking news, there's a belly button on there.
I know, which the internet's never seen.
I don't think we have to blur that. Are we good?
So,
we don't have to blur that. And the other thing was you showed your feet.
I know, which I've also never.
Which financially probably is going to hurt.
Yeah, it probably is.
If you fall in hard times.
If I fall in hard times,
the feet thing is going to be kind of hard to make.
It's going to be hard to put them back behind a paywall.
But you just doing that shows anyone who's been around you, like, wow, Kat's confidence is on another level. And it's not a man or woman thing. It's a being right with you thing.
Yeah, it is. And in this book, I mean, I tell a lot of stories in this book. I talk about a lot of things I've never talked about before that I'm very nervous to have out there, because it's me being vulnerable, and people can always do stuff with that. If you're being open, I'm open about my own faults, mistakes I've made, times that have been really hard for me. And I was deciding as I was writing it, okay, am I gonna be a pussy or not, essentially? Right. Like, am I going to, what would I rather do? And I always, when I make decisions, I look at okay, there's two scenarios here. Would I rather have the book out and be calm and things go smoothly and people aren't mad at me any more than normal? Or but I'm wondering, what would it be like if I told all these stories that I think help make my point of the book?
Right.
Or do I just go for it and whatever happens, happens? And I decided to go for it.
Because it's not easy. I can tell you my first book, Just Tyrus, 2 weeks before it came out, I called the publisher and I said, quote, this, I didn't realize people might actually be able to read this.
You know the
I
feeling.
didn't think, like, wait a minute, you didn't think? I said, well, maybe I thought I was going to. No, I thought maybe if I sold 100 books, I was like, I just wanted to be like hood rich. Like, I wrote a book and 100 people bought it. I wasn't like, oh my God, the sales, this, that, whatever. And I was like, wait a minute. That means people in the street are going to be like, I'm so sorry. What happened to you as a child?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want that. I just want to get my burger and be on my business. I don't need a hug for. So you worry about those things. And I also was worried about people because when you tell your truth or you tell your story, even when you're owning your own shit, there's still going to be players. There's going to be people that when they read your story, be like, wow, that person was horrible to you. Even though the story isn't about them, then you open yourself up to like, that's not what happened. That's not what happened. You know, and I was worried about that. I was like, but if I'm telling the truth, I shouldn't matter. And it's true. Now, if you're bullshitting,
right,
or you end up in a situation where like a ghostwriter decides to add in the part where you shot your dog, like that type of stuff, that's why you don't ghostwrite.
No.
But I also feel the success of this book is just the beginning. Like I feel like you're a writer. I'm
a writer first.
You're a writer first. And you're a libertarian to a fault. In a situation where don't you think society should be more accepting and excited about libertarians than necessarily a Republican or a Democrat? Because libertarians basically is like, you do you, I do me, and let's just be cool.
That's it. And it's a lot of people, they misunderstand my views sometimes, where they'll show me, for example, the Libertarian Convention, which is a show every single year, right? But for me, and I'm not a registered Libertarian Party. I'm independent, but Libertarian best describes my views.
I think if a Libertarian registers as a Libertarian, they're not being really Libertarian.
Right. And
that makes any sense at all.
I think this year there was a 7 or 8 ballots that need to be conducted because everybody's kept voting for none of the above, which is the most Libertarian thing ever.
Right, as you should, yeah.
Yeah, but for me, the ideal situation is not to have a candidate that agrees with me on everything. For me, the ideal situation is to have a system of government where the government is so significantly smaller that it doesn't matter that much who wins the election in terms of us all getting to live our own lives the best we see fit, because I think that our system shouldn't give these people that much power in the first place.
Right.
People have to freak out about who's winning the election that much because it doesn't matter that much because you get to decide what's best for you.
Well, and here's the thing. One of the Gutfeld shows, our success is a team effort. And everyone has a different opinion.
Right.
And I think that's what makes the show successful. Like Greg comes off libertarian-ish, but then he also comes off super Republican. Just depends on what day, whether he got barbecue or not. I am like I trust no one, but I'm a Republican and I want super small government. And you are a libertarian. And a lot of times you are the glue that kind of holds everything together. We had Charmaine on the show the other night, and it was kind of like one of those things where everyone was like feeling him out, and then there was this moment where it was like it could have kind of went off the rails or got tension, and you found something. You're like, hey, I'm the living, walking 1 in 4. He said he's the 1 in 4 people that doesn't feel representative, and you're like, hey, I'm a libertarian. I'm the 1 in 4 all the time, and it changed the show. And I thought it was it brought the show together, and then after that, everyone had a good time. Because it started to get to the point where he would make his claim, and then I'd be like, "What are you talking about?" in the January 6th thing and all that stuff. And then you brought us together, and I thought that was the strongest part of the show, because having people on with different perspectives is risky now because it could turn into something ugly. And it wasn't even close to that, but it was. But I always said, like, you need a libertarian in every conversation when you're talking about politics. I think because they don't really have a real stake in the two-party system.
No.
So they're kind of like the one you hate to be, but they're the conciliary, but it seems like libertarians get along better with Republicans lately than they do with Democrats. Is that fair? Or no one gets along with progressives. Even progressives don't get along. But I'm talking about in terms of like Democrats, Republicans, where are you more comfortable in terms of conversation? Is it because Republicans want less, so there's some common ground there? Or is it Democrats want more and there's no common ground?
It depends on the issue, I would say. But the main thing is just having that respect for another person. And I'm always willing to give other people that respect. You know, people vote for who they vote for all different kinds of reasons. And Republican is a very different person depending on which Republican you're talking to. And the same thing with the Democrat. A lot of these people are very different individuals, right? And what is the danger, and why I write about this in my book so much, is just this saying that, okay, you believe this about this issue, therefore you must believe this whole host of things.
Right.
And if you said this about this issue, that means you think this about all these other things, and that means that you're against me and you're irredeemable.
So I can't stand grouping. I can't stand when I hear black vote. And now it's grouping in your political belief system. Basically, you either love Trump or you hate him. You either love Biden or you hate him. There's no in between. You can't question anybody on your own side because you're going to be on the other side now? Like someone like Bill Maher comes on our show, all of a sudden he's a Republican. No, he's not.
No.
He's a Democrat. He's just not a dick about it. You know, I'm a Republican, but I'm not a dick about it. You know, you need to be able to have open exchange ideas to at least reestablish or reaffirm your own belief system. Like, I don't agree with you on this and you don't agree with me on that, and our reasons are here, and we can have a conversation about, like, you know what, I see your side and I respect it. Doesn't mean I have to change, you know, all of a sudden get a big libertarian tattoo on my chest. How you do that better than I do in terms of like bringing someone together. Is it a game plan when you interview someone or when you're working with someone? Like, I'm going to find something in common with them, or is it just naturally just happens?
I don't think it's natural for any of us. I think humans are tribal by nature. I mean, you go back to like the beginning of humans, right? So you do kind of have to work against it. And I think it's worth it though, in terms of relationships, in terms of finding the truth, in terms of things also like creativity. I really think it, and also just as humans, we can get so wrapped up in a political issue, a political difference, and there's a life kind of happening all the time.
Right, yeah.
And even so this election year, it's going to be a weird day for me because it's this election day this year is November 5th, which is the 10-year anniversary of my mom dying.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, that's, to me mentally, I can't believe I've had no mom for 10 years. And I'm going to be thinking about that day. I think about it every year on that day. 10 years is a hell of a milestone, right, to have gone. Yeah. And I'm going to be thinking about that on that day, as everybody's going to be screaming at each other about this guy versus
half
that
the country is going to either be screaming and the other half's going to be celebrating.
People are going to be having babies on November 5th. People are going to be dying themselves on November 5th.
Tyrus will be at a hotel somewhere by oceans. Yeah. Ever since I got kicked off my first year for saying, I'm not voting for nobody, this is terrible.
Yeah.
And I went to the Cayman Islands on a vacation. That's when, what's his name, jumped out. The guy, he shot bin Laden. I love him to death.
Rob O'Neill?
Rob O'Neill jumps out of the bush like, hey, I'm like, you can't surprise anyone, bro. Don't ever do that again. Are you kidding me? You're an assassin. You don't jump out of bushes. So I've always gone, whenever the election day, I always try to be like, I'm out. I don't want to be around. Yeah. And I'll watch quietly from my cabana somewhere or whatever, depending on my tax, you know, depending on how much child support I have that month, whether I can swing the vacation or not. But when we go from the polarization of that, your point about your mom, you're very family oriented. Like when it comes, like a lot of people, whether they don't know, like you and your dad are very close.
Very, very close.
Your sister and you are very close.
My
like
brother and I, we're all
brother.
close.
Yeah. Even like anyone who's a friend, you bring them in. Cause I used to be like, wait, why is this guy? You're like, oh, he's my friend. I'm like, he can pay, you know, you kind of take everybody in and you make jokes. I see your strength a lot of times because people don't know and they'll make a statement about a mother and you'll come back with, oh, my mom's dead. Yeah. And everyone will be like, oh, you know, and that's part of your humor. But and your family was devout Catholic, like your mother was.
My mom was the most Catholic.
Ever.
What do
you think she would say to you right now? Like if she looked at you right now and you're a best-selling author, you're the anchor on the #1 show, like you have met everything professionally you wanted, and you're in a good marriage. Probably if a Catholic mom would be like, when my baby's coming, would probably come up. But what do you think she would say to you? I
think about that all the time because, you know, I'd only been on Fox a few times by the time she died. So I got hired here exactly just about 6 months or so after. And it's just wild. I think that she would be so proud of me and so happy for me. She'd have some words to say to me about religion, like she always does, right? I wrote, that's another chapter in my book, literally, about religion and my relationship with my now dead mother. If you're curious if there's anything that I won't get into in this book.
No, you really won't. You would talk about it before in joke, but now you're like, it's difficult for me because sometimes I feel like an ass because my parents are living and breathing, but I don't know them. And you pay homage to your mother all the time, and a lot of times telling what are fun stories, but basically your mom keeping you on that right path.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't allowed to watch movies.
No.
The devil was in them. You know, like
she was so Catholic. But the thing is, she was also really funny, and she had kind of a crude, vulgar sense of humor, really.
Because your dad is super laid back. Does your humor come from your mom?
Yes.
You think?
I have the same personality as my mom did.
So that means you butted heads?
Constantly. Because we had the same personality and different beliefs.
Right.
So, I mean, and plus I'm her daughter. So,
right.
and I, as I'm going through all these things and struggling, she's wanting to, me to just move home. But I'm like, there's nothing for me there.
Right.
I'm not going to get anywhere in life just doing that. So, but you got to understand where she's coming from too. So she is, such an example to me of also, you can't put anybody in a box.
No. And people don't realize how powerful parenthood is when it's done right, because even if they're not with you through the whole trip, their lessons are always with you. And I think we always can tell when you're a good parent or a parent that did their job, because it's their lessons that empower you when they're not there. That's as a parent now, I struggle like, what am I teaching my kids? Like when I'm like, they're like, hey dad, what do I do about this? And my answer is, well, you beat them up. No, like that worked for me. It's not going to work. One time the kid had it coming, but I always look at like, I'm not my parents' friends. And your mom was your mom.
Yes.
She was not your buddy because she didn't. So you made a joke the other night on TV about I used to have to do auditions for sleepovers.
Yeah.
Like full on ensembles, right? Like singing songs and stuff.
Yeah.
Did it ever work one time?
No, it never worked.
But she let you do it every time, though.
She let me do it.
And that was cool. Just because we used to do, we always would audition how great friends we are. Like I'd be like, this is my best friend in the world, Mom. Like he has to sleep over. If we don't, our entire weekend's ruined because we have to plan for it. And we lay out this great plan. And no,
I know.
It would have been nice to cut me off before I went into the 15-minute explanation before to say no. But that's part of parents teaching us you're not always going to get what you want no matter how hard you try. It's funny, those little things now give us so much power. What would your mom say to you? Like, would she would say, I'm proud of you, obviously, or it'd be like, wow, I have no idea, or you keep going? She would be proud. She would be very, very, very proud of me, and also tell me to go to church. And get your butt in church. She would still find something. Yeah. Because religion, if you think about it that way, and I write about this, though, in my book, too, she's so Catholic. So, obviously, people are very passionate about things that work for them, and so that's why she's passionate about it. And it could be a point of contention between us for sure, but it was the way that she showed love was caring. Right, but her passion passed down to you is just in different. And she was just so outspoken, loud, little obnoxious. Her voice was very deep, like my voice. So we have the same. The ability to be an outspoken woman is definitely something that I got from her. And you keep saying deep. Your voice isn't deep to me at all. Well, you're probably used to it. Yeah, I just whenever hey, Judge Janine's got a deep voice, but it's got like a to go in it. She's not gonna. Yeah, she might watch. But I always hear that about you. So I can't, in good faith, not finish this interview without talking about Cheens. Cheens. Because Cheens he was a part of our podcast. Yeah. He said some pretty controversial things a few times. Yeah. But people who don't know your story with Cheens, if they haven't been watching the show, I don't know how they wouldn't, but you took on probably the most angriest, sickest cat in the history of cats. When I was 21. And he's still here. He's 14. He's now 14 years old. He has his own doctor. Yeah, he's a cardiologist. He's a gastrointestinal specialist. He has, with the vet, the owner of the practice calls me back immediately, which
I believe that they love animals. It also is in her best financial interest for this cat to stay
keep going.
alive.
Yeah, because you've and it was even kind of touch and go for a while with Cam and Cheems coming together, because Cheems was the guy, he was the man in your life.
He bites Cam still. If Cam like tries to like, you know, give me a hug, we're in bed, like, oh hi, babe, and he'll bite him. And it's been, it was when I went on my first tour, and again I'm on tour. I'm going on tour again.
That's right.
In the fall, so those tickets.
Everything can
website,
be found where? Because
therealkattimpf.com.
not the catfish Timpf.
You want to avoid just Googling it, because people
Yeah, I'm finding it out a lot.
They make fake things. So the book is there, my merch is there, my tickets are there, and even the half veteran shirts that I'm doing for all the net proceeds go to Tunnel to Towers. I'm not making $1 off of it myself. People are making fake ones of those, and it's you're sad. Stealing from military families and like wounded veterans. You're stealing from, because
they're so criminality. Well, it's excusable now. That's the ugly thing. But Cheems
with me through it all.
And you guys started from Detroit. You were in Detroit.
I was in California.
California. You found him in California, but you started in Detroit.
Yeah.
You go all over Detroit to California, to the Big Apple, and there's a whole bunch of stops in between. And now you are literally touring the entire United States. You're doing your stand-up. Mm-hmm. And you're also a writer on Gutfeld. People don't realize that. You're not just in the chair. You also have to write the shows every day, writing books, juggling a marriage, and you still have a social life. Yeah. Like you have like your little, like you always have activities. Like how important is it to get away from it? Like, because when you walk away from Fox, you aren't still debating what's going on in the political history. Like you have your friends, like who you're friends with has nothing to do with political at all, right? You don't have anyone that's based on. Have you lost any friends during all this where someone's like, I can't believe you?
One friend, unfortunately, which it's sad
to throw away a friendship over voting.
And again, it was the same views that I've always had too.
Right. Yeah, it's not new.
It's not new. It's just that Trump like broke a lot of people's brains. I think. I mean,
is it Trump that breaks brains, or is it just that media stopped being media and just became a gossip column? And when they decide to go after somebody, facts and stuff, because if you just told the news, I should never really know if an anchor likes a presidential candidate or not. Correct?
Yeah, I think
because we're comedians on a show that we make jokes, we make fun of everybody. But don't you think when it comes to the news, you should know the reporter's political beliefs?
Yeah, I think it's also what broke people's brains is what, my new book's about, the binary thinking of this or that. And if you're not with me on this, then you're against me on everything. And I think that's so harmful. But I also just think that something that I've said on TV, and you've also said this on TV before too, is something that a lot of people don't say sometimes, which is, I'm not actually mad about this.
Yeah, no, the Barbie movie, the Barbie controversy. I have 3 daughters. Not mad. They're gonna watch it.
Like, dun, 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 dun,
yeah.
You're like, I'm actually like think this is okay. Like I'm not stressing about this. I'm not angry about this.
Yeah, when I sat with my daughters watching Barbie,
I feel like you're not. Yeah.
One time I was like, we got to get out of here. My manhood's and they're trying to take my manhood.
But you said it's not for you.
It's not about me.
Right.
Hey, guess what? I never bought a Barbie either. So I don't even have a claim in the argument if I didn't like the movie, because I did not participate, because I played with G.I. Joe and Transformers and He-Man for a while. And I kind of aged out when the Transformers got cool, but I had to move on. I had to grow up. But no time was there Barbies. I customized figures. Like I drew blood on my G.I. Joes and all that kind of stuff. I never did it with Barbie. I never did her hair or makeup and stuff because that just wasn't my thing. My daughters love Barbie. Absolutely. When the movie came out, I was like, we're not seeing that because they're not respectful to men.
Yeah.
Well, Barbie's been disrespectful to men for a long time. Have you seen Ken with his clothes off? So that's pretty disrespectful. So I think it's fair to move on. But, oh, my God, it was like we covered it for a week. It was Barbie Gate. I was like.
I did get it. I used to like you until or 10 when I was like, I liked the movie. And I was like, that's it. I'm never watching you again. I'm like, because I liked the Barbie movie.
Is there a show that could be put together to where we bring the trolls on TV and they have to show up a talent? Like they have to show a talent. Like they have to either one, do your job for a day, or two, show some kind of talent. What would trolling for stars with Tyrus and Timpf? How can we, guys, any creative, anyone? Nothing? Everyone's looking at their phones? But
they wouldn't be allowed to show their faces because
you only get to see, you have to show their faces because that's the point. Is like when they show up, but the thing is like, but we're not going to give them their real name. Like, well, the whole time we'll give them a fake name, so they don't get any like people just being judged based off their talent.
Sometimes I will see some of the comment. I'll be like, whose grandma is this? Like, who?
Yeah, there's a lot of mean grandmas out there. And a lot of grandmas who are in the mood. I don't know if you've experienced that, but my last stand-up show, I meant to tell you. So this lady during the meet and greet came up and she was like, the last concert I went to was Billy Joel. Mm-hmm. And I was like, sweet. And she's like, and I threw my underwear on the stage at him. And I was like, oh, okay. Cool. And she's like, I brought underwear to throw to. She was 98 years young. And she was like, I brought my underwear, but I laughed and I had to pee, so I had to switch them. So I couldn't.
What a thing to share. I guess when you're 98, like, you don't care.
And she didn't care.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time saying this. She was just like, and I was going to throw it to you, but I had to pee. So I had to switch out. And I was like, you're not going to throw the other ones, are you? And she was like, oh, no, I threw them out. I was like, oh, well, thank you. She's like, but I just love you, hug. And I'm like, thanks.
Yeah.
And then her daughter was like, oh, and they were old lady underwear too. I was like, as if I needed to think that grandma was rocking a thong.
Yeah.
But, but nothing would have been, but in my mind, I don't know what I would do if I got hit with the underwear while telling a joke. I don't. And it's worse for you because you're a woman and men are, at least women are polite.
Show up to my meet and greet with BDSM stuff like fuzzy handcuffs and a leash and other things.
Yeah, I do get the, hey, tell Kat. And I would say, no. I'm not going to tell her. Or, hey, what's the story with her and her husband? Is that a thing?
Is that a thing?
No, bro, she's waiting for you. Thank God that she.
I love that. Like, if only I were 40 years younger. It's like, then what?
Yeah. No, I don't even get that. I think the elderlies are like, no, I got a new hip. What you want to do? That's probably the greatest one ever. It was right in front of her husband. She's like, look, I just got 2 new hips. What you want to do? We going to do this or not? Like, quit teasing me. You're in my bedroom every night. And I'm like, I didn't ask you to go to bed and watch Gutfeld. And I still don't know where this crazy love affair with elderly women, but I'll take it because they'll turn it in. And at least they're mine are little cute elderly women, but I'm in no mortal danger. You know what I'm saying? Like, there will never be a news story where Tyrus was held down against his will by a 98-year-old woman. And, she had to be really strong.
I love all my fans. If you're an old man, love you. But if you're bringing a little leash to me,
maybe not.
Then that's enough.
I think that's a line. I think that's a fair line. Yeah.
Yeah.
You bring a leash to my show, you better have a seeing eye dog, or comfort animal of some sort, because you're not going to get the reaction that you want. Or just assume that your safe word is my safe word is arrogant. I think that's a lot of. But you get a lot of that. But I think most importantly. If I was to describe you in one word, I would say fair. You've been very fair in this career when you look back at it. And I just hope you take time sometimes to kind of catch your breath and be like, wow, man, I've kicked ass and took names. Sometimes it's hard because people don't see all the work you do, and they don't. They just see the result. But I think I work a lot, and I'm juggling kids. But every time I look, if I'm in Nevada, you're in Mexico, you're somewhere. You're always touring, always working. Are you taking time for the little things? Are you taking a step to be like, like, are you smelling the roses at all?
I need to get better at it. I need to get better at it. I am, because it does hit me sometimes, and it's, when
we get in that mode of bitching about everything all the time. Like, oh man, my life, somebody hates me or whatever the deal is. But at the same time, we get to do a pretty cool job.
Absolutely.
I can honestly tell you, fellas, my job is way better than construction. And I know, because I worked construction for a long time, and no one ever gave a what I had to say,
except, mine's way better than washing dishes.
Look out. That's the only thing that
I did that too.
Yeah, you worked at Boston Market. You had that great. But you think that, and I'll end it with that, like all the jobs you have prepared you for today. Is there anything, if you look back, without getting super serious, because I was asked this question today, and I thought, if you could take one thing and change it, would you? Understanding that you're not going to be in the same place though if you did.
I wouldn't change anything. I'd go through it all again. That's what people say that, like they'd like to be in my position. I'm like, maybe you would now.
Yeah, that's great. And maybe say that again. Yeah.
Maybe you'd like to be here now.
But the map starts there.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
See you in 20 years.
Ugly.
Yeah. See how you are when you're you had an apartment with like no door. Like there was like, it was, you were in the ghetto slum if there ever was one at 100, soaking wet, 105 pounds on a good day, but she can eat. Just so
yes, people think I don't eat.
No,
You've
she
seen
can
me.
eat. I've seen her eat. I've been, and especially if it's like chicken wings or any kind of meat product, it's gone. It's gone.
I love to eat corned beef and cabbage year.
Yeah, I've watched. We used to when we had that one place. She would, and what sucked is after we get done eating, the two of us are sitting there eating, and all the plates are stacking up, and everyone's blaming me. It's like, no, she's the one that's eating.
I can eat.
Yeah, we don't have catering anymore because that's not true. Pandemic killed that. But again, where can everyone find you?
TheRealKatTimpf.com. Got book, live show tickets, and merch. Everything's there.
And of course, we can always catch you every damn night.
Yes.
On the Great Gutfeld Show, and you're always popping. You're everywhere. I thought, by the way, I can't. If you haven't seen Kat on the Piers Morgan show, man, that was dope because everyone was screaming and yelling, and you were just.
I was waiting for my turn to talk about
Constitution.
the First Amendment.
Yes,
That's what I was there for.
I'm here to talk about the amendment.
That's what I was there for.
If you have not seen it, it's like Cornel West is on there, Piers Morgan, and they're arguing about Hamas and all this other stuff. And I mean, I'm talking like 3 grown men just screaming and Kat going,
I'm just waiting.
When? No, you want me to jump in? But check it out. You're everywhere, but check it out. I'm looking forward to reading this new book. And again, kudos on the cover.
Thank you.
That's when you know, like I said, I got a lot of heat for going topless on mine. I'm glad I'm not alone because, the belly button thing is going to be a controversy.
I know.
But good for you.
Thank you.
All right.